object being written and rewritten as torchbearers pass along their legacy. And, yeah, you already read the title. We're doing a tennis video. And, dude, I barely even play tennis. I play pickleball, for God's sake. Like, why does tennis work so well? Hey, have you read the Inner Game of Tennis? Big thanks to G Fuel, who was paid to be mentioned in today's video. Yeah, you heard ingredients and a better taste. Some flavors eat.
Save it with.
Why does tennis work so well? Hey, have you read the Inner Game of Tennis? Fuel part ingredient. It's 20% fuel for supporting me in the channel, and I hope you enjoyed today's video. Allow me to set the scene for you. Before you are 3 players, 2 young guns who have thoroughly ushered in a new era of the game, better than all the rest and making sure everyone knows it. Alongside them, a grizzled vet who just won't say die. If you aren't as familiar with Melee, I'm talking about these 3 players, Zane, Cody Schwab, and Hungrybox. At least at the time of writing this video, which is like 3/4 of the way through 2025, it seems as though Zane and Cody are on their own tier, with Hungrybox slightly below. But the way in which the current elite are battling for supremacy looks eerily similar to what's happening in professional tennis with Carlos Alcaraz, Yannick Sinner, and Novak Djokovic. Not just in narrative, but in playstyle as well, to a creepy degree of similarity. In both games, these rivalries aren't just about results. They're about clashing playstyles, generational narratives, and the question of who will truly define the era. Zane is to Melee as Carlos Alcaraz is to tennis. Just like the young Spanish superstar, Zane is explosive, charismatic, and impossible to ignore. Zane took his main character, Marth, to new heights, becoming the de facto Marth torchbearer after the reign of Mewtwo King, redefining what the character's punish game could really be. He's recently taken on content in part to develop his own personal brand and proved he could be just as good on his main as he could with any other character in the cast. The Suckathon happened, and Zane won 4 major tournaments in a row. Coincidence? I think not. Alcaraz did the same in tennis, an all-rounder who blended raw talent with a tireless work ethic. Alcaraz excels from the baseline, but is not afraid to approach the net, and his mental game is completely on point, with an absurd 93% win rate in matches that have gone 5 sets. Couple all of that with a creative and unpredictable playstyle, and it feels as though he has the best of all the old legends. Nadal's explosiveness, Djokovic's defense, and Federer's finesse. He is only 22 years old with a mind-numbing 6 Grand Slams to his name already, just 1 short of the legendary John McEnroe, and 5 from cracking into the top 5 of all time. Both Zane and Alcaraz are loved by their fans, and when they're on, it's a sight to behold. They are incredibly stylish, but both are ruthlessly weaponizing that swagger into valid tools. For Zane, these are pivots, edge cancels, sour spot mix-ups like dare and up smash. For Carlos, the forehand drop shot. These things look disrespectful, and trust me, sometimes they are, but they've become so optimized and so common that this type of movement is just a part of the vernacular of their competitive scenes at this point. Watching them win with this style behind them feels like we're watching their respective sports evolve in real time. And they also both dyed their hair blonde, so there's that. Then there's Cody Schwab, who to me mirrors Yannick Sinner. Cody's rise to the top of Melee was a slow burn, one built on consistency and precision, and his original tag. For a long time, people wrote Cody off as just another box player, just as some initially dismissed Sinner as one-dimensional. Thanks to some coaching from Armada in the Pesky Puff matchup, Cody's breakout tournament at Summit 8 proved that he wasn't just a box, though. Both he and Sinner proved the master's sheer optimization. Cody's Fox was always in the lab, every punch was ridiculously crafted, to the point where Fox looked like a near-perfect representation of what the character would be. It is so optimized, so difficult, that you simply cannot deny he is the best player to ever use your space animal. Sinner, by comparison, has an insanely sharp baseline game that was mechanical, efficient, and brutally effective. The crown jewel of this game plan, though, is in his reduced back time. He is remarkable because he literally saves time and is therefore less predictable in his spots because he can coordinate back on ground strokes. Much like Cody's tech skills almost feels like it's saving brains. This tiny yet exponentially effective optimization has made Sinner a fast riser to the top of tennis. Speaking of making it to the top, the way in which Cody and Yannick have rose to prominence is also uncanny. Both players had their come up after their modern day counterpart, so Cody after Zane, Yannick after Carlos. We often see this narrative of a quote-unquote methodical player becoming unseated by this magical upstart, but here it's the other way around. Zane and Carlos were the best in the world first, followed by Cody and Yannick, who made their way into #1 consideration. They may not have that same charisma as Zane or Alcaraz, but they earned that #1 spot the old-fashioned way by grinding until the results spoke for themselves. matter how many times people say their time has passed. Hungrybox in truth spent many years of his career being perceived as a loyal or villain to the scene, even getting a freaking crab thrown at him at the peak of the toxicity. Every single time the game has threatened to leave him behind, Hungrybox has found a way to exit. His stint from 2017 to 2019 as the best player in the world was followed with a quote-unquote slump, but to this day, he has still never fallen out of the top 10. Now, in 2025, he's returned to a familiar summit, reaching number 3 in the world just behind the inevitability of Xavier. In tennis, Djokovic's story is nearly identical, but to a freakish degree. His defensive counterpunching style of tennis was equivalent to Jimmy Cup's initial perception of the scene. Both are frustrating to play against, suffocating to endure, and devastating when executed at the highest level. And this is a nice way of me saying HBox has gone on record multiple times saying, I'm going to kill the game by camping or things like that, so you get what I mean. But one of the bigger notes I want to bring up that's purely similar between these two is in how they both served essentially the same role in their larger group. Served essentially the same role in their larger group. Both of them were considered minor members of what are considered the greatest generations of their respective titles, the Big Three in tennis and the Five Gods in Melee. While perhaps thought of as the weakest links in their respective chains at first, both Hungrybox and Djokovic went on to outlast all of the other luminaries. This is part of the reason why both were thought of as villains too, by the way, and it's the weird part about both of their trajectories into more beloved figures in their scenes as they age into charming crotchetiness. I'm not gonna lie, it's kinda hard to root against a 38-year-old Djokovic whose body can literally break in half when he's still going head-to-head with some of the best players in the world. On top of all that, Hungrybox and Djokovic both hold what seems to be an untouchable record at this juncture of their careers, of the most titles in their respective sports. Djokovic with 24 Grand Slams, and Hungrybox with 38 major tournament victories. The real story and the relationship between these two players is that they're the ones you thought would live in this elite status and end up the less remembered. But instead, they have great generation, outlasted everyone else, and they have the title to show for it. Actually, one more thing on top of that, because I find it kind of funny, but both of these players rose to prominence following a pretty significant lifestyle change. For Hungrybox, he enlisted the help of Crunch, one of his longtime friends, his coach, and for Djokovic, he found out he had a gluten intolerance. The coaching for HBox and diet change for Novak resulted in quite literally immediate wins for both of them, which again is just a pretty funny coincidence. Like I said, I'm not much of a tennis player, recreational at best and much more of a watcher than anything else. But why exactly do these comparisons feel so right? Is it just because Hungrybox and Novak are old? Well, kind of. And many have said Djokovic is the clutch box of tennis. This is real. But here's the thing, though. In both Melee and tennis, we are witnessing a true clash of generations. The young phenoms, Zayn and Cody, seen as heirs to the throne that Hungrybox once sat on. Not to mention, this is also coming after a time where we called players gods, which included Hungrybox. In tennis, that former godhood, if we were to assign it, belonged to players like Nadal and Federer, once heralded as the best of their eras. The other reason I find this so compelling is because there's just such a difference in playstyles in these big three players. Melee, like tennis, thrives on rivalries where these playstyles counter and check each other. Well, okay, I guess Zayn and Cody both kind of destroy Hungrybox right now, but you get what I mean. Tennis, I find, has a similar power dynamic, at least with these players. Alcaraz's all-court aggression, Sinner dominating the baseline, and Djokovic playing a nasty defensive return game. Nobody is unbeatable, sure. There have been times in Melee where people look damn close to being unstoppable. There exists this perpetual what-if that keeps us coming back for more. But there's one more question we need to ask, and that's why do we, or why should we even care about this? In 2025, this is especially captivating because we're in a moment of true uncertainty. For years, both scenes were dominated by a select group of their most elite, the Big Three in tennis and the Five Gods in Melee. As exciting as the gameplay was for those time periods, looking back in retrospect, it probably got predictable. Something I have constantly said on commentary is that right now it feels like the most up for grabs Melee has ever been. There are no free meals at every single level of the game. You just got ranked top 10 in the world? Congrats, a Luigi player beat. Twice. You just won a tournament? Awesome. Well, now you have to deal with the worst performance of your career. There is just so much variance, and that unpredictability makes these sports so compelling to watch. Fans don't just watch to see who wins, they tune in to see how these styles clash, how the narratives unfold, what breakout stars can and do appear at every turn. And I think these parallels amplify the drama. Watching Zayn and Cody fight at Battle of BC, or Tipped Off, or Supernova, or most recently Riptide feels like watching Alcaraz grind out Sinner at the US Open. Watching Hungrybox clutch out a last-stop situation feels like Djokovic saving match point after match point, time after time at Wimbledon. But finally, the reason all of this matters is because, in part, these eras are meant to end. As of the 2025 US Open, Sinner and Alcaraz have won the last 8 Grand Slams. Added Djokovic, and they've won the last 14. 2025 in Melee is looking like the Zayn and Cody show. Zayn holding 5 major wins, Cody 3, and H-Box 1. Like I said before, this is coming after the so-called Five Gods of Melee era, and during a period in 2024 where it really felt like just about anyone could win a Melee major with how open the field was. So the reason I find this so compelling is because at a certain point, we're not just watching tournaments anymore. We're watching eras begin, end, and be noticed in real time. So what exactly does it mean to say Melee is in its tennis era? To me, it means that Melee isn't just surviving, but thriving. To a point where its narratives are as layered and compelling as any other traditional sport. This tennis parallel was basically just a narrative device for the sake of this video, intended to help you guys as fans become more invested in watching a dynamic rivalry and power struggle between 3 completely different players, each representing their own philosophy of play and of competition. And hopefully it worked. Hungrybox is Djokovic, the stubborn survivor, reminding us that greatness never truly fades. Cody is Sinner, the optimizer, proving that hard work can beat talent. And Zayn is Alcaraz, the prodigy fulfilling destiny, marching his way to goathood. Together, whether they wanted to or not, they've become intertwined to a story that keeps their sport alive, relevant, and unforgettable. And not for nothing, it's pretty remarkable that both the histories and the personalities line up so well. On their own, this is just a random video essay rambling about something I found interesting, and maybe it isn't compelling enough. But the personality aspect to this parallel makes the story that much more intriguing, since we have all of these players who are all so different. It is truly a unique mix of personalities that enhances the pure results-based story, which I think is awesome. But hey, I think I could probably make a story out of anything. That's kind of my job, right? This is the fun part, and sometimes the stories write themselves. Thanks for watching. Gotta give a huge shout out to my top supporters on Patreon and YouTube memberships. I just did a stream recently, and you guys honestly really super showed up. So now we have this fun little banner on the top of the channel to show all of my YouTube members to you guys. So yeah, let me know if you want to see more of those streams. I think the middle tier on YouTube gets your name voiced in the credits, like what I'm doing right now. So thanks to Avishua Stein, Bobby Wasabi, Dark Genix, Eric is Cool, Gustavo Cantu Fernandez, Henry Huang, Ian, Jazz the Pirate, Justin Duncan Mills, Kyle Carlin, Marco Bradley, and Sam Wright.
very long, while the fourth scatter sequence is only a single frame, essentially eliminated. After the last scatter sequence, ghosts are stuck in chase mode. The timer that controls these is reset when the level is cleared and when Pac-Man dies. Link, as special cases, will allow him to act like he is in chase mode. He's actually in scatter mode. There are a few dots left in the mix. It starts to happen on the first level when there are 20 dots remaining as the level number. During the scatter and chase states, ghosts use a targeting system to determine which direction to travel. As soon as they step onto a new tile, they will immediately figure out the next best tile to move from this point. The decision is 3 new tiles, one directly in front of it, 90 degrees clockwise, or 90 degrees counterclockwise. Notice that at this point, turning around backwards 180 degrees is not an option. This means that a ghost cannot normally turn around while cruising around. As you'll see later, it is possible in certain circumstances, but for now, let's ignore that. Directions that would make a ghost solid are also the remaining options. One that is the closest to the target tile. The tile that does 2 or more tiles are the same distance as the target tile. The tile directly up on the screen is given the highest priority, then left, down. This algorithm is for every tile movement, not just at the end. Because solid tiles are ignored, ghosts can't turn around backwards. Once one enters a section of the game, travel all the way through it. As another example, suppose a ghost would travel downwards into the tile. This tile up here was the target. While moving down is already out of the question, since that's a wall. Turn around and move up. Going left and right minimizes the distance to the target. Traveling into this tile from the right side results in left and up. Going up distance. Those who are traveling to the left side, distances between going up and right targets are the same. However, up is given priority over right, so there's up. The target system down that. Look into how the states during scatter mode. Target one specific tile and then target everything. 4 targets, 4 corners, positive. Drop to a different area of the map. Those to the top right, top left, pinky bottom right, and fly to the bottom left. Most of the time, the scatter phase is short that they don't stick around in the corners for too long, but if they could, be running around in circles with respect to the target. Similarly, by placing tons of ghosts throughout the planet, see how eventually they all bunch up in their respective places. Clockwise. Counterclockwise. Fly, stuck on the regardless of the date of the time. One of the exceptions is instead of minimizing distance, target tile, just pick an eligible direction from a Pac-Man does touch the turns to a blank set of eyeballs and very badly this is done by forcing the ghost's target tile right in front of you. As they reach it, down to the convert this time. Finally, chase mode. All of this is chase mode. They will all turn around in 90 degrees, like engine right. They also turn around when in chase mode, scatter mode. These are the other 2 exceptions to the turnaround rule. You can use detail when a mode switch occurs. Unlike scatter mode, where the target tile is constant, new target tile is calculated every time before a decision to make. Each goes as a key for determining the active target tile, which is what ultimately makes it a good navigation. As the simplest way of determining a target tile, it is simply just the tile where Pac-Man is located. Knowing this, plot Blinky and Pac-Man anywhere in the maze, trace out the path that Blinky takes. Because the target tile is directly on top of Pac-Man, it will pretty much always find its way to Pac-Man one way or another. There are a few exceptions, we'll get more later. As the next step, we'll figure out her target tile. There comes with equipment. Tile target. Tile 4 tiles in front of Pac-Man. So 4 tiles to the left if facing left, 4 below when facing down, 4 to the right. But when Pac-Man is facing up, the target tile is 4 tiles above and 4 tiles to the right. Let's go off on a tangent for a moment to look at why this happens. So the tile positions of Pac-Man are stored as 3 bytes next to each other. First byte is the horizontal position, starting from way off the right side of the screen, counting up left. Right side of the screen, hex position hex 20, the left is hex 3. Second byte is the vertical position, starting from way off the top of the screen, right down. First row of the maze is Y position hex 21, and the bottom is hex 3F. The game stores directions as unit vectors format as well. The left is the pair 1, 0, horizontally positive 1, vertically 0. Right would then be the pair hex FF 0, horizontally negative 1, vertically 0. Down and up would be 0, 1, 0 hex FF respectively. Vectors can be multiplied by a constant, added together to arbitrary vectors. For example, to get 4 to 0, take the vector hex FF 0, multiply it by 4, hex FF. Are only equal values, so the pair starts hex F 0, which corresponds to 4 here. What causes the subvector to be if we multiply 0 hex FF by 4, we get 0 hex FC. It should be function 0 hex FC, just like the right vector. The problem is that although these are 8-bit values, code that handles the calculation treats the entire vector as one 16-bit value. So instead of the 3 starting overflows x results instead 3 xfc corresponds to 3 negative 4. This overflow error occurs one more time when the vector is added to the position or Pac-Man in this case. Carrying 1 from adding hex fc, it's added to the x the 3 that is already present. Results in the final offset being 4 up and 4 to the left, instead of the expected 4 directly up. Error doesn't occur in the right direction. Any overflow of the x-coordinate does get discarded, since it is in the upper half of the 16 value. Because the two 8-bit components of the vector are treated as one 16 value, anytime negative 1 is added to the vertical component, 1 is also added to the horizontal component. Anyway, with that anomaly understood, let's look back at Pinky's target tile. Do the same thing with Pinky and trace out any path she will. We know Pac-Man is. Because the tile is slightly in front of Pac-Man, it tends to catch Pac-Man in front as Blink.
This is why you gotta light up the surroundings
Also,
as well,
since the tile isn't directly
not
on
just
top
the
of
interior.
Pac-Man, it is easily possible that Pinky never actually sees Pac-Man sits in certain places. This is even easier to do with Pac-Man up, since the target tile is fairly disjoint with position. Has an interesting target tile calculation, mainly because it is not only dependent on Pac-Man's position, but also Blinky's current position as well. First, the tile is found. 2 tiles in front of Pac-Man. Again, just like with Pink, Pac-Man is facing up. Tile is 2 in front and left instead. Then, vector from this tile, Pinky's rotated 180. This is the target tile. Your method of targeting results in working with Blink Pac-Man. 2 of them are far apart. But if Blinky is right on Pac-Man's tail, he will come in close. Paths assume Pac-Man's normally the case, and also assumes that Blinky definitely. Therefore, it's relatively difficult to predict secondary dependence on Pac-Man's. Then there's Clyde. A name that sticks out from the others, you just know that he's the odd one out. Clyde's target tile is identical to Blinky's, directly on top of where Pac-Man is currently located. However, this is only the case when Clyde is 8 or more tiles away from Pac-Man. Less than 8 tiles away, the target tile he chooses is the same one as in scatter mode. This means there are actually few spots where Pac-Man can idle and Clyde will catch him. Spots are down in the bottom left corner near Clyde's scatter target. There are a couple other areas in them that have long tunnels without escape routes to the bottom left, where Clyde has no choice but to run into Pac-Man. Now, earlier I said that Blink always find Pac-Man. Actually, an exception to this special cases. There are 2 areas of the maze, Ghosts in scatter or chase mode, not attempt to update what direction they're facing. That is, they cannot turn. One area is right at the exit of the ghost house. The other is right where Pac-Man starts. This effectively means that the ghosts cannot turn up at its full. Because of this, there is at least one tile where Pac-Man can hide forever and pretty much never get caught. In the case of Blinky, suppose he is right here traveling upward. Goes left, then is forced to continue until this intersection where he goes down. Goes right and up at the bottom of the maze. Now he's completed the cycle, which means he's stuck in this loop until Pac-Man gets stuck here going clockwise or counterclockwise. Also gets stuck here going clockwise only, or she'll get stuck circling the ghost house in the direction. Clyde will also get stuck in one of 2 cycles nearby as well. Difficult to track down here, because his movement depends on where Blinky is in the pattern, but generally he gets stuck cycling around the ghost house or one of these walls. His target tile ends up moving around in a cycle, but Blinky moves around in a cycle pattern himself. The number of tiles it takes for Blinky to run around this wall, the number of tiles it takes for Blinky to run around another t-shirt wall, as well as the ghost house. Therefore, once Inky falls into a cycle around one of these things, stuck there indefinitely. Pac-Man will never get caught once the ghosts all fall into their endless cycles. That doesn't mean it's incredibly easy to get to this position. Just entering this tile facing up doesn't grant invincibility, since Blinky can still easily find Pac-Man from about half of the positions on the map. He doesn't travel on much of this part of the map on his own. It is on the right during scatter mode, somewhere near Pac-Man. He and Clyde really only find Pac-Man near the bottom right.
What the hell is that?
Trigger the safe spot is to lure the ghost to the bottom left and enter from the bottom intersection. The ghost you look out for the most. It will take much longer for him to get caught up in a cycle somewhere. His hiding spot isn't the only way to take advantage of it, but it is the most silly. There are many smaller and more practical ways to use technology to avoid the ghost during gameplay. Just understanding how the ghosts greedily minimize distance between them and their target tile is a good start. For example, when in the bottom tunnels, Blinky and Pinky will go up or inward to get closer to Pac-Man, though neither of these directions are the best way to reach him. This leaves the rest of the tunnel empty. Offset targeting by turning around quickly after passing. Pinky is within 4 tiles of Pac-Man. Pac-Man turns around right as Pinky enters the intersection tile, the target tile will be
They can
behind the
jump.
intersection. Pinky makes a 90-degree turn one way or the other. Since continuing straight forward, this works even better being chased downward because of the left offset bug. This bug also leads to other ways of tricking, such as idling in this position. Target tile is across and against a completely different wall to the one Pac-Man is touching, so Pinky will want to go up and left instead of down or right. You may be wondering if these types of strategies are used in order to play perfectly. The maximum score possible is achieved. The answer is yes, but more likely than you think just memorized. Since all of the Ghost's movement patterns are ultimately based on Pac-Man's and therefore the player's input, the consistent movement pattern of Pac-Man will result in the exact same Ghost movement each time. The only thing to fight against then is the random number generator output the Ghosts then frighten. But after level 19, the Ghosts don't even enter frighten mode. At this point, you only have to memorize exactly where the Ghosts will move.
Oh my
given
god.
that you control Pac-Man
You're
the
an
exact
asshole.
same way each time. Before ending the video, I'd like to share one final animation showing off the Ghost's target tiles and projected travel paths during game. I think it's just fun to sit and watch, about how some fairly simple math results in such a great game experience.
My bro's afraid of heights. He jumped to my roof and doesn't know what to do from here.
Thank you for watching. If you are new to the channel and or haven't seen the video explaining the kill screen of Pac-Man, be sure to check it out.
Ooh,
Maybe
step
after
high.
mastering the Ghost's movement patterns, you'll be able to make it to that level yourself.
What?